Of DAO Talk. This is your one-stop shop for everything DAOs. I'm Tommy, and we have a little bit of a new face this week since Frisson is officially out on parental leave. My good sir.
Oh, this is the part where I introduce myself. I'm Kyler. I'm the director of ops at DAO Research Collective, and I'm a contributor at the Content Guild. Frisson is minting a 101, so he's very busy right now.
Pudgy mint. Yeah. I think as of recording this, baby Frisson might be into the world. I don't know. I haven't heard anything on that end, but I'm sure he has a really good meme he's ready to post for that announcement. But yeah, Kyler, welcome back. One of our only non-Tally hosts so far, actually the only non-Tally host so far, will be our first guest host for DAO Talk. As Frisson is out, we'll probably have 2 or 3 more in the coming weeks, but let's dive into it. So big announcement from Tally this week. So when you are operating on Tally, if you're not watching this, we're just looking at a tweet of a GIF or GIF. I say GIF of the Tally interface. So when you're operating on Tally, if you've ever used Tally, you're basically it makes it super easy to interact with smart contracts and do governance operations. So when you are making a proposal on Tally, say for instance you want to update the governor, the contract that allows you to actually vote and make changes to the DAO itself. There are parameters around that. For instance, say like we did one in Content Guild this week where in order for someone to vote in our DAO, we originally had the governor set at 0. So that means anyone could propose a proposal to the contract. It doesn't mean anyone could vote, just that anybody could propose actual code that would change the contract. So if we wanted to update that to make it 1, so no one could do that, except if you were an actual member of the DAO, you can go into Tally and you would have to previously upload an ABI. And an ABI, what's the actual wording for it? Kyler, I know you did some research for it.
Yeah, I'm not a genius, so I had to look this word up before the show, but it's application binary interface.
So whenever a computer or an interface is wanting to interact with a contract on Ethereum, it needs to know what parameters to call and what the information in that contract is, right? So in order for that to happen, it needs to know the ABI. And previously, you would have to upload your own ABI, which a lot of times people don't even know what ABI means or don't even know what to do in that situation. So now when you go to make a proposal on Tally, and you're looking at this video right here, you can kind of see it makes it super simple. And now what we do is we automatically populate the standard ABIs for a lot of contracts. So like an ERC20, an ERC721, a governor contract, all those like contracts and love and you consistently interact with, whether you know it or not. They all have standards that have, standard functions. So like usually mint, burn, transfer, and probably a few more. So if your contract uses just that standard, then there's nothing custom and you're not trying to call an action that's not in that standard. It automatically populates on Tally. You don't need to do anything. You just select what you want to do, enter the address you want to call, and then it's simple as that. Now, if you want to call a custom action, say like you wrote a mod to an existing like ERC20 contract, and it's a function that doesn't exist in the current standard, then you have to upload your custom ABI. But for the non-technical folks like Kyler and I and Frisson, this is a really big deal because if you haven't figured it out just from us talking about it, like it's removing just another barrier in order to participate in the DAO. A lot of times it's super cumbersome, or there's a big technical barrier. And I think even though like this feature is alive, it's more about helping people understand this is how easy it is to participate in a DAO, right? It's as simple now as a few clicks, which is what Tally's goal is, to get as many people participating in DAOs, as many DAOs created. And the way we do that is by making the barrier to entry super easy. But at the same time, we're not nerfing the power users or the devs who want to do super crazy custom actions, in the compounds or the Uniswaps of the world. So, Kyler, I almost called you Frisson. That was weird. I almost said Tyler. I don't know if you want to jump in on this. If not, we can just move right along.
Yeah, no, Tally stays winning. Like, this is so sick. It's what Web3 is all about, in my opinion, is just, transitioning power from a centralized few to the people. And so it's just such a good representation of what I think the heart of Web3 should be, and how a lot of people do see it. And it's Tally stays winning. That's all I want to say. And I do hope people aren't so offended by your mispronunciation of GIF that they don't use this product.
I've realized everyone thinks it's GIF, and I'm just gonna I don't push back on it anymore because I think the argument's pretty much been lost. I think GIF has won, but I refuse to call it GIF, so I'm just gonna call it GIF. But I'm not gonna argue with it. You win, you guys win. But yeah, awesome shit coming out of Tally as always. Devs are killing the game. Tally ships, love it. All right. Kyler, this is from you. Run us through what this is. If we're not familiar with Kyler's work, when he comes onto DAO Talk, we have a little more of like a legal flavor, which I think people really enjoy.
Yeah, I'm here to bring the legal nerdiness to DAO Talk. Tally provides the super high tech tooling applications, and then I come in and ruin it with the legal talk. So, but anyways. So I work for the DAO Research Collective, and we were working with an attorney and writer named Kevin Chen, and he wrote this amazing framework for pre and post DAO legal considerations. And in this framework, he first of all presents a unique definition of DAOs, acknowledging that they're fluid and that there is no true definition of DAOs, which is ironically the only good definition of DAOs. But he breaks it down into two phases, the pre-DAO and the post-DAO launch phase for legal considerations. And then he breaks DAOs into protocol DAOs and native DAOs. And I want to touch on both of those things. But the big breakdown between a protocol and a native DAO is to ask the question, if the DAO element, like the governance contracts and the members, are removed from the project, what remains? If what remains is a functioning smart contract that continues to perform operations, then it's a protocol DAO like Uniswap or Compound or Tally. But if you remove the people and it essentially ceases to exist, then it's a native DAO, which is more like FWB. And, being aware of what kind of DAO you're either building or in is definitely key to assessing legal risk in this way. But to move on to the next part, which is the phases. So you have pre-DAO, and that's when you're like building and you have a dev core team. When you're in that phase, he explains really well that all of the legal risk is on the development team unless there's an entity, which would alleviate some of that risk, but not all of it. But my favorite part is when he goes on to talk about post-DAO risk, which I've never thought about it specifically at this point, but that's when the risk shifts from the development team to the members of the DAO. And it's a really important time of transition. And he kind of punts on the actual way to solve that, which is legal entity formation. But there's tons and tons of work out there on that kind of stuff by great minds like David Kerr and Miles Jennings and Rodrigo Sura, Chris Brummer. So lots of people working on that. So I can't really blame him for punting. It would have been another 20 pages long if he hadn't. But just a really fantastic explanation and elegant breakdown of the pre and post DAO legal considerations.
This is a juicy piece. This is not short, as it shouldn't be. A subject that is so important to the longevity of this space. I've actually heard like this week, kind of like when we're doing research for this, you kind of just get a little bit of like a sense of like the general themes. Like when Frisson and I are usually prepping in our doc, we keep like a running doc every week that you've seen that we use for prep. Usually the theme, like, one week is like, oh, everybody's super sad because it's the bear market and no one's really talking. Or one week, everybody's focusing on like on-chain governance or the legal implications of like, the Fed or the CFTC coming after different DAOs. So this week in particular, I've seen a lot of people talk about like this concept of like, what's an actual DAO and what isn't a DAO. And I think like we talked about this when you were on the first time, like, do we need more than one word for a DAO? And it's like, we came to the conclusion, no, like, right? Like, just understanding that it's like a fluid term in regards to like, what is a protocol DAO versus what is a social DAO, and all the different flavors underneath. Do you still like think,
Yeah, that's definitely still my train of thought. I mean, I think my biggest thing is, for now, we just have to acknowledge the irony that the only thing we know about DAOs is that we don't really know everything about DAOs, and that's just the fact of the matter.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I feel like people are just like we're gonna go over like there's like a reply guide to a tweet later this week. It's like everyone's like just wanting to shit on DAOs, maybe from like the other side of crypto Twitter, because it's like I don't know what my thought process is here. I've seen a lot of FUD, not like necessarily FUD, just like bad vibes around people trying to create like online communities. I saw like a clip. It's like an online community versus a DAO. It's like I don't know. There's not much of it.
Like just a Discord chat.
Which is, I don't know. We'll see. But okay, moving on. You got rickrolled, kind of.
I did, yeah.
AI has been also like another really big theme this week. Was this featured by Tweet Hunter released this week?
Yeah, he tweeted this one this week.
But like, was the tool itself released this week? Because I've seen like just everyone using it.
Dude, it must have, because I'm glad it happened for the first time, like really late last night. I liked it and replied to him like, where can I find it? And I deleted my response but it was late. So I'm hoping nobody saw it, and I'm kind of outing myself right now. But yeah, essentially LexNode, Gabriel Shapiro, really fantastic attorney in the space, known metacartel mafioso. He just fooled the shit out of me. He tweeted, I can't remember what the specific tweet was. Let me open it. But it was like about, let me just read it. Everyone should be reading DAO Governance by Kenneth McCusick and Don Levine. It is by far the best book on governance of DAOs. And neither of those people are real, and that book doesn't exist. So I just absolutely got hoodwinked, and it was embarrassing, and I'm ashamed.
All right. Nouns released Nounish Data Platform, which is just a custom Dune dashboard that's really, really well done. It was a Prop House governance mandate winner. If you don't know what Prop House is, we actually just released a really good newsletter on it's called WTF, it's Nouns Prop House. So go check that out, tally.substack.com. That's the Tally newsletter. You can get a little more info on what the fuck is Nouns Prop House. So this is the winner. I don't know if you've seen this, Kyler, but it's a really sweet custom Dune dashboard that is really essential for I think the reason it got funded was because, it helps people make more educated decisions within the DAO. And Nouns is, especially since they deleted their Discord, the dissemination of information around the DAO is going to be at a premium since there is no centralized place for people to get it. So making this really, really awesome and really accessible is pretty fucking cool. So this is the treasury. It's called data.nounsmetrics.wtf. Super, super minimalist web design here. You can see overview, proposals created, executed proposals, and then a really easy list, everything linked with vote turnout, voter turnout. Really, really cool stuff out of Nouns Prop House.
Yeah, this is DAO community at its best, right? You put it up for grabs, someone does it, and it benefits the entire DAO. So I hope whoever built this out, got some form of reward for it.
We can probably check the link. Nouns Prop House pays very well. I mean, we talked about this previously. Like Punk 4156 had like a really good analogy about how to operate within like a Nouns style ecosystem where, Nouns DAO, the main DAO is like you're going to get the most funding, but it's going to be the hardest to reach. He compared it to like a Reddit front page. Like getting to the number one on the Reddit front page is extremely hard and requires like either a really awesome idea or like a shit post. So getting there is going to be the hardest, but the reward is going to be the highest. And then you have all these Nouns forks, like Little Nouns and other other forks that just use the noun structure that have smaller treasuries, but it's going to be a little bit easier to get your idea to the front. So I think it's just like understanding what your idea is and like what level of funding it actually deserves, which is hard for some people, but this one definitely was rewarded. I'm not sure the actual reward. It was probably a few ETH here, so a couple $1,000s, a good chunk of change, but it's really well done. Like you said,
super well done.
So go check that out for sure. Now we're going to move into your favorite section, everyone's favorite section, the DAO Thought Boy takes. We're just going to read through some product announcements and popular tweets from the week and kind of just riff off them. So from our favorite friend over at Joke DAO, David at Divine Economy on Twitter, nearly every single DAO treats their community as a board of directors to approve or revoke their decisions. This is straight Web 2. Until we enable communities to participate creatively in generating and executing ideas, we haven't unlocked the actual potential of DAOs. And then funnily, that's not a word, but first reply written by AI. Love it.
So I agree with what he's saying here in concept that we haven't unlocked the full potential of DAOs and we should enable communities to like act creatively like we just saw with Nouns DAO and with the Dune page. But I've never thought of a DAO community as the board of directors. I always think of it as the opposite. I think of like the dev team as the board of directors and then the community is more of the shareholders. So I don't know, that analogy was a little bit lost on me, but like what he's saying, I agree with 100%. Like we can definitely enable more individual creativity and access to execution within DAOs. And we have a ways to go, but we're definitely closer than corporations. So that's always the good
That's
news.
A good point. I think I was too focused on the latter half of this. I didn't really think deeply about the first part. It doesn't really make sense, especially because I feel like we've seen the opposite, like snapshot votes passing and then the actual operators of the DAO who have voting power just saying fuck you and doing what they want, So, but overall, the idea of the tweet I agree with too. We try to highlight a lot of really creative and actually use creative products and solutions to, motivate the community. Something I think we're doing really well with Content Code, which we'll get to at the end. But all right, kind of in the same vein, OtterSpace is a really interesting product that I think hasn't released their beta or has released their beta to a few clients. Kyle, I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but hot take, DAO voting mechanisms will become more complex over time, not less complex. This is because the best voting system will reflect the complexity of determining how much power someone is entitled to within a community. And I think this tweet was put out because it kind of goes hand in hand with what their product is. And it's that idea, something we've talked about early on in the DAO Talk days, kind of when soulbound tokens were going around, is like, and the next tweet is just Vitalik saying using governance tokens as primary governance is, of course, not good. I think this is the same, from the same vein, right? Governance tokens aren't good. They're not really they don't function as they should function. And we need to figure out creative solutions for that.
Yeah, no, so for the first tweet with OtterSpace, the first time I heard about them was from Dennison today in the Content Guild call, which we'll get to later, I'm sure. But I do agree with this. I think that governance is something that people have been trying to figure out for 3,000 plus years, actually a lot longer than that, like 10,000 years. And they haven't been able to get it right yet. I mean, look at how shitty governance is in the United States. So the fact that we thought we were going to fix it with the token, it's cool that we're bringing it to the digital format, but there's definitely still a ways to go. And whether that's like the incorporation of bicameral governance, like Joke DAO has, or blind governance, shielded governance. I saw someone just came out with that, and we talked about that earlier this year at an event I was at. I think it's going to get a lot more complex, but then we're going to hit a point of diminishing return where it's going to be like too complex. So I almost feel like we need to learn everything about the system and then work backwards to simplify it. But we're still at the bottom of the system right now. So we need to learn everything first, make it way too complex for anyone to use, and then simplify it. if that makes
sense. Yeah, that makes
sense.
I think something you like kind of hinted at was like, we are at the bottom of the system, and it comes back to our ethos at Tally, and my ethos, like, and Frission's ethos is like, we need more people operating in DAOs and working in DAOs and building DAOs. Like, if you're listening to this and you're not part of one or haven't done it, I don't know why, because you're listening to like a super niche podcast about DAOs. And the best way to learn about it, besides, even better than just listening to a podcast, is like going and actually operating in one. So I think like something we also have to consider is like, if we're at the bottom of that system, how do we get to the top? And I think the response to this tweet was something I was talking about earlier, where like someone reply guided it and was like, well, first we should build something worth governing. Like, there's tons of shit worth governing, but I get your point. Like, yeah, there needs to be more. And there is more coming, but yeah, it's awesome.
That's just a pessimistic take. That guy got rugged last week or something. That's why he's saying that.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't know. Like, yeah, it's important to understand, like, especially now in the bear market, I don't think anyone's doing this, but like, as we start to get towards the next bull market, if there is one, maybe it's just like this forever. I don't know. Like, I don't even like thinking of it like bear and bull, but like when things start to pick up, in the mainstream in regards to like DAOs and Web3, it'll be important to, remember the way we're talking about things now, which we will, especially on DAO Talk. So OtterSpace is really cool. I love their website. Like you said, Kyler, today or yesterday has been one of the first times I've experienced them. It's kind of similar like Hats and some other like protocols. Like, I think Disco has a similar idea, just in a different vein. It's like badges are non-transfers. They're non-transferable NFTs. And you get a different badge based on different like people, users verifying your status or contributions in a certain light. That way it's not like one size fits all. But it'll be interesting to see how this is implemented. Still in beta. Tally might be providing support for them, but we're not 100% sure yet. So keep an eye on that.
Yeah, this is sick. I definitely need to explore this more, but I like their website and I like the how would you say it? Meritocratic aspect of it.
Meritocracy. Yeah, I think too.
Exactly. I know how to say that word.
I know.
Meritocratic. That was a little whatever.
I think too, like from something I've been thinking about a lot in regards to like, I feel like we have all the power users, right? We're going to have them all by the time, this bear market starts to like wind its way down or out. I'm talking like it's like a planned thing, but so now it's more about like onboarding. This is why like Bankless is so good with what they do is, it's different because they're a media company, but their primary mission is just making it super easy for anybody to like have an on-ramp into crypto. And that's why they cover as like much shit as possible in a lot of the mainstream stuff. But for DAOs in particular and like operations, and this is why I think the ABI thing was so important. That's a little bit farther down the line than something like OtterSpace, but making the UX super, super easy to understand, making the access to information super easy to understand. And a lot of what we do with Tally is like a design research around, okay, but we're going through these workflows from our perspective, knowing, this is how we would operate it, which is the power user's perspective. So it's important to like audit a lot of the design processes from Tally and from anything that I think touches DAOs. Like for instance, something like Optimism or Maker. Like a big critique on Maker is like Frisson had a good tweet about it this week. It's like it's so complicated and so hard to understand what is happening in that DAO that like it's the barrier to entry, like even for like a power user, like I consider myself relatively like expertish, yeah, in DAOs, but like I have zero, like same thing with Frisson, like that's what his meme was about. It's like there's no desire to like try to step in and contribute there. So making it, and they don't necessarily want to do that, right? I'm not saying that's wrong. I think from the perspective of how do we get more people in, and, get your TradFi and your Web2 friends in, you got to make it as cool and simple as possible. Like I heard an analogy about like EVs, and like I live, in like the redneck area of the country, and it's like if you go up to someone and try to convince them to like switch their F-150 for a Tesla, and you go at it like you're hurting the environment, like they're not going to give a fuck. They're going to be like, "Fuck off, you hippie liberal, whatever." But if this is why Tesla I think is super important and popular, is like if he's made Tesla as a whole has made the brand cool. So now when people are buying electric vehicles, for instance, like I'm talking about the redneck folk, like they're not buying it necessarily to save the environment. They're buying it because it's cool. So I think yeah, exactly. Like you make the features of, or the benefit, the value prop of, whatever you're trying to get someone to adopt, super obvious and super well done. Like, I think that's kind of the next step. And that's something I think about a lot too. It's like, how do we onboard these people and get them over something on a smaller scale that like people talk about this week was like the Reddit NFT, but like them calling it digital collectibles. Like that kind of turned into a meme, but like there is something there about it, like
there's definitely something there with that. I mean, NFTs acquired such a stigma in their short amount of, they're still around obviously, but it's nothing compared. The market's down like 99% compared to what it was last year. Right. And honestly, it was, the behavior of like big ape holders and stuff like that, and ape follow ape, and, creating that exclusive community that kind of shut everyone else out instead of bringing people in. I think that was a big catalyst for the downfall of NFTs. Now, it definitely wasn't everything. It's not the whole reason why. Every market in the United States is down right now, pretty much. So like there was going to be a down market, but it hit NFTs especially hard because of the kind of culture and environment. And what they did was the opposite of what Tesla does, which is like Tesla wants to make it cool. They want to make it fast so that they can appeal to, rednecks that want a fast truck and stuff. Just to go off of your analogy from before, I'm not actually calling people rednecks, but, that was one of the biggest issues that the NFT market had, in my opinion, was just the siloing, the community, like infighting, doodles are better than apes are better than doodles, like that sort of stuff. I just think it was very toxic for the community. And then of course, if you were on the outside looking in and you didn't really care to begin with, and all you saw was all that infighting, you would just I don't blame people for being turned off by it, to be frank.
I love it. We've had a little bit more of like a eclectic episode, a little more conversational. I saw a tweet this week too. I think it was from LDF or somebody about like the traditional podcast format. And I think this is why like Rogan and all of them are super successful, is like just having a conversation with people and hanging out. I think there's much more of an appetite for that now, especially in like the bear market with crypto. Like Kobe had that like he has an untitled crypto podcast. They've only done like 4 episodes of it, but like it's just them talking for like 2 hours about random shit. So I think, yeah.
We should just do an 8-hour episode.
Yeah. I'm kind of down though. Like I've had the idea. I'm going to tweet about it after this. Maybe I'll tweet about it now while we're recording. But like, who wants to do just like a hangout podcast? No like strings, no whatever, no schedule, and just like talk.
You know what I was wondering about that though? Like, did they eat? Like, did they like step off camera for a few minutes and go like make some food and then come back with it? And they were just like, eating in front of the camera.
We can even do that. Like have like, we can drink or whatever people want to partake in. Like and like just hang out and talk about the week and what we're working on. We're just like
We should do it where everyone in the group has to order food for like the next person in the group.
That'd be cool.
Like order DoorDash to that person's address.
We definitely should do that. All right. Let's talk about that after. We gotta get, maybe next week. By next week, hopefully we'll have that done. That'll be a non-DAO Talk produced podcast. But all right, a little bit of updates out of content, and then we're going to wrap it up. So Content Guild is our DAO, you know. Tyler is now an editor in that, so he's a voting member of that DAO. But you've heard us talk about it. If you're a newer listener, Frisson and I have we're in charge of like all of marketing and go to market and like biz dev at Tally, and we decided to decentralize the marketing department and our marketing budget. So we created a DAO. We call it a DAO in process because it is not completely decentralized yet, right? Tally is the only one funding it currently. The idea and the goal, and we've had some interest, is to have other publishers who want to come in and sponsor content. But right now, it is just Tally funding the Content Guild. And the Content Guild is a network of everyone who's ever created or been paid by Tally to create content. So we have like all of our DAO NYC people, people who have helped on the podcast, article writers, mirror writers, producers, etc. So primarily right now, it is a lot of writers, but it's all types of content. So this week, we actually use one of Tally's features, and it is a YouTube tutorial that was released when we announced the feature. But an issue we had, real quick, I'll just run through kind of like something that's happening. That was we had spam, like we said, anybody could submit a proposal. So there was a lot of people submitting a proposal to drain the treasury, which is pretty crazy because just a few tweets and a couple $1,000s in a treasury, and people, I guess that makes sense. Like, you know, like moths to flame comes in a track. Yeah. So it wasn't that big of an issue, right? Because someone would have to vote on it. I don't have to reach quorum and pass the 3-day time lock. But to just, you know, it's a good practice to not allow that to happen. So we updated the contract governor from 0 proposal, our voting threshold, to 1. So now only the editors can submit proposals. So the way we do it in the DAO is someone will propose an off-chain proposal or a poll similar to, or almost exactly like Snapshot. They propose what they want to write, what they want to get funded, and then the editors vote on it if they receive at least 2 votes, which usually they do. It is approved. They go and write their article. Awesome. Once it's published, one of the editors submits a proposal on chain to pay them. They're paid via Polygon. It's as simple as that. And then they join the Content Guild. We have a Discord. Right now it is private, but applications are open if you want to submit content. contentguild.xyz. We've had our community call today. We have a really cool project coming down the line. It's going to be a kind of like an on-chain virtual summit. We'll have more details on that coming soon. Kyler, anything like from a member of the Content Guild who was not, you know, Tally biased, like how do you feel about the DAO? I feel like, you know, we're getting, you know, some good traction and attention. I think these ideas of like meta labels that produce content as a DAO are pretty cool.
Yeah, I love first of all, I love the concept of Content Guild. That was definitely what attracted me to it when Frisson reached out to me. But first of all, it's a lot of fun. Like if you're a content producer, you want to make some really cool content and hang out with fun people, come to Content Guild. Because we're having a blast in there every day. Second of all, I just want to say that it's Frisson's worst nightmare that I've now acquired governance power within the DAO. And I'm going to do everything I can to undermine him. So Frisson, I know you're going to hear this, and I'm calling you out. It's happening.
I remember this clip when we're in court in like a year and a half because Content Guild got so big. I love it. So yeah, go follow Content Guild XYZ. That's our Twitter username. A lot of really awesome ideas and stuff coming out of Content Guild. We have some really awesome minds in the DAO, and we're just shipping and creating and doing shit and figuring it out as we go. I think that's the way to do it. A lot of people are just, you know, myself included. I've talked about this before, just like, oh, I'm afraid to create. I'm afraid to, you know, what happens. And then like we talked about Jack Butcher earlier, but like something he always says, as cliche as it is, it's like worst case scenario, no one sees it. Okay, well, no one saw it. And now you just create again and you just keep slowly building an audience, right? So yeah, awesome stuff coming out of Content Guild. Subscribe to our YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Everything's growing really well. We love our DAO Talk fam. We love when people reach out. If you want to co-host an episode, feel free to hit me up on Twitter. We got probably 3 or...
If I can do it, anyone can do it. Just so whoever's listening hears.
You did great. It was a great episode. Reach out. If not, that's okay. Keep listening. We love you. Subscribe to DAOtalk.substack.com. That is the newsletter that comes out every week. If you don't want to listen to us, totally fine. I understand. Otherwise, Kyler, any closing thoughts on the week?
If people don't want to listen to us, I don't understand that. I think you need to reevaluate where your priorities lie.
Also, dude, plug your shit. Like, what are you involved in right now? I'm involved in DAO Talk and Tally, but like, what's going on in your world?
Oh, I'm involved in too much stuff right now, but I will plug the DAO Research Collective. If you want to learn anything about DAOs, we aggregate and pool DAO resources for the community. We try to de-silo all of the research that's happening so that anyone can have access to it. Shouts out Lex DAO, Lex Clinic, Sporos DAO, and any other litany of projects that I'm involved in. But
we'll link all of Kyler's projects. Something I consume every week, content from all those projects he mentioned, especially if you're not super legally inclined. I think people maybe have a stereotype. It's like, oh, legal shit's kind of boring, and I think maybe that's true for the most part, but the content that is coming out of your projects, dude, is really awesome. I think.
Yeah, I have one more project. I completely forgot my weekly newsletter around the blockchain and all the amazing writers that we have on that team there. We have a team of about 10 now, and those guys crush it absolutely every week. So very sorry for forgetting.
No worries, dude. Hopefully we'll have some more DAO Talk times DAO Talk. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. DAO Talk collabs with some more legal projects that you're working on. I'm sure, things are not going to slow down on the legal front in regards to, DAOs and crypto. I think we've not even touched the tip of the iceberg. So do you think a lot of shit's coming, or like, I know you probably don't know, but like, what's the general sense in the space?
Yeah. I would say trepidation, right? Because there's legislation being developed right now, but we're not sure if it's the right one. So actually at Lex DAO right now, we're working on a response to the Loomis-Gillibrand bill. And that should be out, within a matter of weeks, but there's some concerns over the way that they want to legislate DAOs. That's something we're going to specifically address. There's concerns over the definition of a digital asset. You have your securities, commodities, money transmitter law concerns. I mean, we have a long way to go on the legal side of things. And I think that's because we're about 5 years behind the tech side of things, at least for the most part.
In the legal sense?
So it's going to take some...
What do you mean by that?
I would say so. What I mean when I say that is, the tech for like Bitcoin stemming from 2008 and, just blockchains from thenceforth, that was being developed heavily by developers, right? By engineers. And they were just building shit. They weren't really concerned about the legal ramifications of it in most cases. In some cases they were, and there were early iterations of crypto law. But like now, crypto has been in full force for a while, and now crypto law is catching up to full force. So when I say we're behind, it's just in that we haven't had as long to develop the laws to accompany the technology.
Anything else? Any closing thoughts? Non-crypto related? Both our football teams are trash.
Go Pack Go. Yeah. Actually, forget about the Packers.
Yeah,
go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
The Packers
broke
my heart.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think your beat is taking us out right now. I think we're still using a Kyler original. So, Kyler, it's been an honor, and I'll see you online. Peace.